I would get physical with him, but it was the suppressed anger I had from being molested.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to go back to. Did your trying to commit suicide have something to do with what happened to you being molested as a child? Latanya, I want to welcome you to the chat room. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions for Miss Lisa, please feel free, and welcome to the show. So, Lisa, not only were you molested as a child, you and I also talked about your teen years and how that kind of made you act out as a teen.
Yeah, you know what? It made me gravitate towards, I guess, boys that were unemotionally available, not giving me that love and affection. It was just always, I wanted to feel pretty. I just want to feel pretty. Just make me feel pretty. Because of what happened to me when I was younger, I didn't feel pretty. So just that, I just want to feel pretty. Dude, if I feel pretty, okay, I'm good with that. It didn't matter what else maybe they would say to me or talk to me or maybe put their hands on me. As long as you made me feel pretty afterwards, I was okay with that. I was settling for that. But not even knowing where that was coming from until I was much older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an incredible story. But, I've talked to a lot of people, and it's so sad because a lot of children are being molested by the babysitter or the family member or someone that's a close friend of the family. And you think, hey, I can trust this person. I know this person. And just like your story, normally it's a house full of people. It's usually a lot of people. And then they find their one prey that they know they can get away with. And that's typically how it happens.
Yes, because I considered her to be my friend. She wouldn't hurt me. And then you start thinking, well, no one's going to believe me. I'm a child. I'm 5 years old. Who's going to believe a 5-year-old?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you think when you're 5. I mean, look how many adult women even believe that. Who's going to believe me?
That's true. That's true. And I think it depends on your family dynamics, too, sometimes. Mm-hmm. Now I tell my granddaughters all the time, hey, if somebody does this to you, does that to you, do not be afraid, to tell me. You can always talk to me. My granddaughter was with me today, and I said, hey, you can always talk to me about anything. Just know that. Because I really trust anybody. Men, women, whoever. It's very hard for me to just be like, they wouldn't do this or they wouldn't do that. It's just really hard, to just trust people now. So there was a time in your life that you were also raped or date raped. Is that correct?
Yes, when I was in college. Yes.
And around what age were you at that time?
I was probably 19.
Do you want to weigh in on the situation?
Yeah, I was 19. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I was 19 and I was, seeing this young, man or whatever, and we had went out a few times, and he came, back to the dorm, and we had been drinking. You're in college, you're partying, you're drinking, and I didn't actually drink until I was in college. So if I drank anything, it really hit me hard. And so I knew I woke up the next morning and I was in the bed, my clothes were off, and I knew what had happened to me. And I just acted like everything was normal, knowing that it wasn't. But that pattern of acting like everything was normal when it wasn't, just, I continued that.
Yeah, so it's like Miss Latanya, she's in the chat room. She said a lot of people feel that way, hiding your feelings so others wouldn't know that something is wrong. So did you go through that? Was that a part of?
Yes, everything was fine. I got up, I took a shower, my clothes on, I went to class, didn't say anything to my friends. I just You know, he called me the next day. Oh, how, like, it was just normal, whatever. But I just kind of stopped taking the phone calls and just went about my business. But I didn't report it because we were out, we were drinking, we were dating. Who's going to believe me?
So it goes back to who's going to believe me.
Mm-hmm. Who's going to believe me? And even at that age, because you were dating him, you went out, you guys were drinking, you went to a party, you came back to the dorm. Especially then, you're talking 87. You know, so it just was so different then. I mean, it's even still hard now for women. So back then, think about how hard it was.
Mm-hmm.
You invited him up to your dorm. Well, what did you have on? Were your jeans tight? Was your shirt tight? Did you let him into your bedroom, or did you guys stay in the living room? Well, what do you expect? Boys will be boys. So you have to think about back then how tough it is now. Think about how tough it was back then.
Right. It was more like you were feeling worthless. Your self-worth was zero at that time. Is that safe to say?
Yeah.
Because I listen to you and you always say, well, back then, if I would have, or because this or because that, it's almost becoming a pattern of, well, this happened to me when I was a child. I didn't say anything. I covered it up. Now I'm older, and now this has happened to me again. That worked for me covering it up at that time. It helped me get through, this point in time. But in the same sense, now your self-worth is just not there because you don't feel pretty. You don't feel acknowledged by people. Is that safe to say?
Yes, that is safe to say. Exactly. That's exactly what happens. And you don't even realize that your self-esteem is just going down, being knocked down. Mm-hmm. All the time. And your value, you don't value yourself, and you don't realize it because you have the mask on that I'm pretty, I'm smart, I value myself, but when actuality you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the facade you're putting out there for everyone else.
That's true. So, hey, Miss Rachel, thank you for joining the show. Much love to you as always. Now, Miss Blair, I see you posted something. I thought you took it away. I was going to still say it. So I know that you're in the chat room. You can see her comment as well. I'm not sure if she wants me to say it on air, so I won't say it on air since we are all in the chat room together. I've also had a similar situation. I was not drinking, but I invited somebody over that I've known for a very long time. And we're just sitting there. Miss TT. We're sitting there conversating. The next thing you know, he jumps on top of me. Well, I'm the type of person, I keep a rifle, a gun.
Wow.
And thank God that I had it with me because he overpowered me and I could not get up. And I was just like, get off of me. And he was like, come on, you get off of me. And thank God it was close enough to me that I could access it at the time. So I'm almost willing that a lot of women have been in that situation as to someone has overpowered them and took advantage of them. And we don't say anything because I've never said anything to anybody. And I know this person really well. Family know them and all. But it's kind of like, sometimes you feel like, well, I ain't going to start no stuff. I'm just going to stay away from that person. When the right thing would be to do is report it.
Yes, exactly. I agree 100%. And that's exactly the feeling. And the person, the violator, is banking on the fact that you're going to feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's true. And a lot of people get away.
Me, you're not the first one.
Yeah, and a lot of violators get away that way because we be like, we're like, yeah, I'm not going to say nothing, just stay away until it's too late. But what we need to do is tell. You need to say something at that moment because guess what? If they'll do it to you, they're going to try on the next person and be successful.
Yep. And believe me, we weren't the first person that they did that to because it's a pattern. They have established a pattern.
Mm-hmm. It's a pattern. So you were molested as a child, a young child. You were raped in college. Now we have all this stuff that's going on, and it's just whirling and whirling and whirling inside of you. So
Yeah.
what happens next?
Well, can I just go back before college
Yes.
real quick? Right when I was probably in the 8th grade until I was a sophomore in high school, so that's till I was about 16, almost 17, I had a boyfriend, and he was very violent towards me. I mean, very violent. And that probably had a greater impact on me dealing with how I dealt with what happened to me in college.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would come home and say, my mother would say, what happened? Oh, the ball hit me in gym. I ran into the door. Someone opened the bathroom door and I ran into it. Now, mind you, I'm not a clumsy person.
Mm-hmm.
I ran track. I was a dancer. I was not clumsy. Oh, I fell at track practice. There was always something until the day that I just could not lie about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kicked downstairs. This is a young teenage girl. Kicked downstairs. Punched in the face. I mean, just things that should not happen to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was breaking up with him. I said, I just can't. I don't know where I got the strength from. I was like, I just can't do this anymore. And I he grabbed my arms and I just pushed him away. And he pushed me. And I fell into the wall at the high school. And it's the older school, so it was all brick. And I hit my head, but not knowing that my head had burst open in the back.
Oh, no.
And when I went up, I was on my way to track practice. So I go up to the track, and everyone's looking at me, and I'm like, what are you guys looking at? And they're like, Lisa, you're bleeding. And I put my hand in the back of my head, and there was blood all over my hand. And still now you can feel where I had the stitches. I had to go to the hospital where I had the stitches.
From him pushing you down the stairs?
That was for a couple of years. I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Char?
And that was from him kicking you down the stairs?
That was from me hitting my head on the brick wall. When I pushed away from him, he pushed me to just get away from him, and I hit my head on the brick wall.
Oh, wow. Well, it's a good thing that you got out of that situation at that time because, as you know, most teens, when they're in an abusive relationship, they're in them for a very long time. And if they try to leave, that's when the worst comes out of the guy. So you were lucky.
I was like, I just can't do this anymore. He tried to come to my house, and my parents weren't home, and I was like, I will call the police. Don't come here again. That was it. That was it. Never even talked to him again until I was much older and adult. And I know him. I see him. But hi, how you doing? He's off and married to someone else, and going on with his life. But I don't hold that in my heart anymore. I let that go a long time ago.
Right. I totally understand. And with me, mine started at an early age, so I totally know exactly where you're coming from. It's not anything that you said about that relationship. That most teenagers, we're embarrassed. We're afraid. We don't know what to say. You want to protect the person. And that was a little bit what Rachel and I talked about. You want to protect the person. So... you tend to say this happened, that happened, oh, I hurt myself. And I think in the back of our parents' mind, they kind of know the truth and they know what's going on. Mm-hmm. They do. So, TT says, so what did you say to your parents? Or how did you hide it?
Oh, I just would make up excuses for him all that time. And my parents never really liked him. Like, they knew something was wrong. They knew something wasn't right. But after the incident with the stitches, there was no way I could hide it because I had to go to the hospital. So I couldn't hide it after that. But